Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you in our webinar, which was excellent organized from our partner Inter. We are glad to be part of this summit. In the next minutes, we want to talk about the challenges of a control room. Communication and recording solutions for control rooms will be in our focus. Have a great time.
Hello, my name is Oliver, and I'm the head of sales of Voxtronic.
Hello, my name is Sascha. I'm sales manager at Voxtronic Germany and responsible for the German and Dutch market.
Today, we provide an overview on communication functions and requirements within a control room. A control room receives vast amount of information, whether video, voice or text, for processing them centrally. Operators will do decisions based on information available, providing life-saving commands. Therefore, reliable and user-friendly communication and its documentation is mandatory.
Okay, talking about control rooms, first I think to make it easier to follow, we should define what are the main tasks within a control room.
Right. From a high-level perspective, there are the following points. The first is receiving relevant operational information from the field. The second one is taking this information and doing a fast decision-making process, and then using these decisions to send instructions or commands back to the field or the field units. And all this while ensuring compliance with laws and regulations.
Okay, so the operator is acting like a communication hub between all involved participants. Some of them may be in a vehicle, some talk on the phone, others use mobile radio and handhelds. And of course, there are incoming emergency calls. How can the operator use all these channels at the same time?
Good question. The control center is connected to all these users through different technology and networks. Hence, the control center must be equipped with a communication system that can integrate all different communication sources like PBXs or radio networks. The client application used by the operator then just interconnects with the right network and provides the appropriate feature to the end user.
What are important aspects when designing a control room?
When designing a control room, the operator working positions are a crucial aspect. They are equipped with a communication interface providing access to radio networks and telephony systems. Based on the operational processes and the personal requirements of end users, the design of the hardware might differ.
That means the operator is using the same system for talking to somebody on the phone or on a mobile radio.
Yes, indeed, there is only one interface and system to communicate with telephony and radio devices.
That's very impressive. And I'm getting more and more curious, how does a typical working position look like?
Okay, a working position consists of a selection of the following devices. First of all, a display or often a touchscreen to show relevant information. As a second point, audio devices like a handset with PTT button, a headset, a handheld microphone, or a talk station. For users often involved with radio communication, a foot switch also might come handy. Last but not least, what keeps all working together is the dispatcher client software.
Okay, sounds good. When I'm thinking about operators, working shifts might be very challenging. Using a headset for several hours, even a very comfortable one, can be annoying and can lead to reduced focus. Which ways has the dispatcher client to avoid those situations?
The dispatcher client is the operator's most important equipment in emergency situations. It should provide the possibility to easily switch from one audio device to another, even during a call. Otherwise, just think of it, a broken device could have catastrophic impact.
Yeah, I think this is a very important thing to keep the working position reliable because no electronic device lasts forever. Failures must be considered during working time. It seems the user has a high flexibility in using the equipment.
Yeah, furthermore, monitoring functionality should allow the user to listen to a radio channel and over the Furthermore, monitoring functionality should allow the user to listen to a radio channel over the speaker, while also handling simultaneously another call on the headset. When needed, the user can switch to the radio channel and jump right into the conversation.
Can you show us how to do that on the dispatcher?
Yeah, sure. So what you can see here is our dispatcher, and on the left side you have a selection of roles. The roles can be assigned centrally, and in a role you have a selection of buttons, quick dial buttons, and pressing one of the buttons will immediately connect you to the participant on the other side of the line.
Okay. And right now I don't understand what you mean with role. What can I define in there?
A role is basically a selection of targets. Yeah, so targets you can call. It might be a radio device. It might be a telephony device. It might be an intercom. Uh, Anything you could think of.
Okay. So when let's say I have a defined type of work I have to do when a special emergency is coming in, so I could define all the participants I need for working on an emergency, and I just click to this role emergency, and then I have all the contacts I need for this.
Exactly. Yeah. So usually you would structure the roles based on your operational needs. And if you have an emergency, and usually within emergency calls, there is maybe the need to talk to the police, for example, or to another organization or entity, you would have this quick dial button in that role.
Oh, that sounds good. So I don't need to handle all contacts the whole time, which makes it, I think, when you have hundreds of contacts, very difficult to find it quickly. So I can switch into a role where I need to be right now, and then the selection is reduced and better organized just for this situation.
Exactly. That's exactly the case. And if you need contact you don't have always available, or you don't need that often, you could still use the address book and search there directly.
That would be my next question. If I have a address book, or do I need to put all the contacts here on the screen as a button? Because sometimes, as you told us, it's a good thing to have this address book.
Exactly, and those addresses can be synced from an existing source. For example, any of your IT systems that can provide them already, and you have them easily available there.
When I see the dispatcher, I remind one point we talked about a few minutes ago. When I use the phone, when I use a radio, how would it look like here on the dispatcher? Can you show me?
So on the right side, you have the active call. And you can see in this case, we are connected with Sophie Bauer. And there is also the call control just below it, giving us control functions over the call. So, for example, you could use the mute function, or put the call on hold, or make a transfer or a conference. And also you have the possibility to see how, of course, how long the call is taking already, and which priority the call has. And below that two boxes you have, if available, the video stream. So maybe Sophie Bauer has a webcam, but in our situations, maybe there is a body cam which could be shown automatically within the call. So you can see also what he or she is seeing. Yeah? And additional information would be also the position of the participant. If you receive, for example, an emergency call, you could also show the position of the participant, and then dispatch your units more easily to the location where the emergency happened. And therefore, of course, the position is a crucial part of information.
Okay, you mentioned something about priority. What does it mean, a priority for a call?
Oh, yeah, right. So calls can have different priorities. That means, for example, if you have an emergency call, the priority should be higher than any other call, right? So to differ the calls to differ the calls with each other, the system automatically assigns a priority number based on some information it has, and will show the calls with the highest priority on the top of the call queue. And therefore, you will always see the most important calls on the top.
Okay, so I define in my system, let's say, when I'm thinking about the German emergency numbers, I receive a call on 112, then it gets a high or highest priority, and I can see it, and can close a maybe not so important call I do right now. How will be the procedure handling these priorities?
Yeah, so there are a few options you would have. If you receive a call with an obviously higher priority, you could use a function that is called automatic preemptioning. That means that your call, which you are currently in, is automatically put on hold, and the emergency call is presented as an active call, and you can jump right into the active call without losing the other participant, but not wasting time to wait until you can switch to the other call.
Mhm. I understand, but I expect this happens only when the call I'm right now in has a lower priority. It's not cutting me out from an active emergency
Yeah,
call.
sure. So active emergency calls would not be uh,
Interrupted.
interrupted and
Yeah.
put on hold. And also, if if you don't want that option, it's something you can configure. Sometimes it's enough to show just the call which is ringing on the top of the call queue, just right before your active call. And any of the operators who reacts first can take over the call.
Okay, and let's say I have 2, 3 colleagues in the control room. They can see the same queue of incoming calls. So I would like to have that the colleague is taking over incoming calls when I'm active in a call and he's free.
Yeah, you could configure a group of operators to a hunting group. That means that all operators in that group would be alerted simultaneously, and that operator who is accepting the call first will be in the call, and the others won't be. However, there's also, of course, the option if that you can let the call ringing also on the others. That depends a little bit on your operational requirements. In some situations, you just want to have one operator accepting the call. In other situations, it might be also useful to have several included.
Okay, great. You know, I'm still impressed about the thing. I can use the telephony system and the radio at the same time here in the same system. And you mentioned things like a conference. Now, is it possible when I'm talking to someone on the telephony and on a other channel I have somebody on the radio, on a mobile radio, that I can take the guy on the radio in a conference with somebody on a telephony system?
In general, yes, that's of course possible, and even more, you could use also just if you have telephones and have a bigger conference, to use some with your dial buttons on the phone to press PTT or release. So also that would be possible.
Okay, PTT was push to talk.
Yeah.
It's like on the mobile radio, I know push the button when I want to talk.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you push the PTT button, which you see on the very bottom of the screen, it will allow you that it will transmit the words you speak to the other side.
Okay, great. Okay, now we talked a lot of speech, voice, communication, talking to each other, but sometimes I think it is more convenient to use text messages. When I think send me an address, I would like to receive it in text form, not spoken. Are there possibilities for using text or messaging within the dispatcher?
Yeah, our communication platform comes also with a chat server, and it allows you to write messages. Of course, you can write the text, but there is also predefined messages. You can simply click on them and then send them to the channel that you want. That means could be, for example, an SDS on a radio system, so a message on a radio system, but could be also a message to another operator or on over the GSM network, so to a mobile phone of someone else as well.
Okay, predefined messages. I like that. It could be for all my colleagues, lunch is ready. I don't need to type it. I just select it.
Exactly. Yeah. So the focus there is also to reduce the amount of time an operator needs to get the result. And if you know, maybe based on on the call or on the participant you're talking to, what would be feasible messages. Yeah, for example, in the railway, there are certain messages you would like to send if there is maybe a problem on the tracks. Yeah, you would simply write or send out that message and later give more details. But in that case, the train operator, the train operator can handle immediately.
Okay. Is this, can I connect it to other chat systems? Can I implement them? Or is it just the dispatcher's own system?
No, you could even connect them to other chat systems, and also could include social media. So if you think, for example, that you want to include maybe some important tweets which are relevant for your operational processes. Maybe if you are from the public safety, you would want to track when some messages over your Twitter account came in, and to monitor public public interaction you have with them. That could be also done over that chat server.
Okay, that sounds that the chat system is in a similar way flexible like the voice communication.
Yeah, that for sure.
When I need to talk to stuff like in the field, maybe technicians, it is very expensive to buy for all users a mobile radio. Today, everybody has a mobile phone. Is it possible to run a dispatcher on a mobile device?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. No. Yes, sure. Broadband technology enables the usage of smartphone apps to be used in mission-critical scenarios. These apps are usually used by the field of staff, and users can be in a distant location where a conventional radio system could not be used to take part in the conversation. This might happen if someone is outside of the range of the radio system. So in such kind of situation, it's useful.
How can communication systems support operation processes?
Nowadays, multimedia content like audio, video, text, and even location data are mixed and deliver useful information for better and faster decisions. It is important to provide the user with context-sensitive data supporting the operation. Information should be viewed only when it is needed. For example, it might be useful for the operator to know where certain units are located to allow them better coordination of the operation.
Okay, and they are all displayed on the map.
Yes, they're all displayed on the map. I can also filter for different kinds of units. And if I click on a unit, I have the possibility to initiate a call from there.
Oh, that sounds great. It reminds me the American TV series when police station is called. There is an emergency in street this and that, and who is near to that emergency. And you don't need to ask. You can look and just click the car who is nearby and tell him take care of the emergency.
That's right, yeah.
Very nice. I like it. Most users from public safety, public transport, or others have individual demands for their operators. They all handle different communication channels. Not everything is as simple to integrate like a telephony system. Which requirements need to be met for planning a unified working position?
That's correct. Where possible, standard protocols should be used. Where this is not possible, gateways are useful to connect legacy infrastructure like analog, DMR, or Tetra radios with the voice over IP communication server. This also allows to run the communication system on a virtual infrastructure in a service-based architecture. Another important point is to plan what should happen in the case the connection or the communication server fails. Is a failover using redundancy possible or not, and in which way? This is crucial for later operation.
So there is not only a vast number of channels, but there are also a lot of different communication technologies. I see phones, different radios with different technologies. Do I need for all those technologies its own equipment?
No, you don't need different communication systems, since you ideally would like to integrate all those different networks and sources into a single communication system to interconnect them with each other. This approach allows faster operation processes, and each user can communicate with his or her preferred equipment.
Seems to be very expensive to upgrade the complete communication equipment to IP-based units.
There is no need to replace all the equipment, Sasha, since it can be easily integrated into the IP-based communication system using the gateways. This reduces on the one side the costs and also allows end users to use their existent equipment in a soft migration scenario.
That sounds very interesting. What kind of equipment can we use with a converter? I know a lot of control rooms with existent radio equipment. Some are analog, some use Tetra or DMR or many others.
So you can connect, of course, analog radios or Tetra radios with the PEI interface or even DMR radios. So you have the complete flexibility in choosing the equipment, and with our VLC gateway, you can easily integrate them into our IP-based communication server.
That's fantastic because that means I can modernize the control room to newest IP technology and still use existing old equipment in the field. To make the effort even greater, I could use also the existing infrastructure to the old equipment. My idea is to have the converters centralized in a technical room. There it is easy to do the service maintenance without disturbing the operators or going out into the field to find the converters. I like that.
You got it.
Organization in safety critical environment need to comply with laws and regulations. To achieve compliance in case of communication, recording plays a big role. In a control room, there are so many different media types used. How can I record them all?
Yes, all these different media types can and should be recorded as legal evidence. Multimedia plays an important role in the future and also now, Since devices in the field have cameras, GPS, or other sensors, and this information might be relevant not only while communicating, but also for later reconstruction of the situation and how it really happened.
Okay. I see there is a case management. Why do I need a case management for the recordings?
The case management combines relevant recordings in a case. A case represents an operational event like a fire in a production site that needs to be investigated. Users can add additional documents or pictures to the case, and once finished, a controller can review the case and exclude non-relevant information. In the end, the case can be exported and provided to legal entities. Let me show you a video.
Oh, thank you, Oliver, for that nice video. I like it. Well, in many cases, recording is required by law. It is for documentation purposes. But how can I use the collected data? What if I need information very fast? Right now, I imagine I get an emergency call. Maybe the other person can't speak clearly anymore, or there is noise in the background. I might miss important information. Can a recording system help me immediately?
Thank you, Sasha. During emergency calls, often the participant on the other side of the line is under stress and maybe not very audible, making it hard to understand. Therefore, instant recall functionality is integrated directly in the dispatcher client. The user simply replays the last call to figure out what was said.
How does geo redundancy work? Do I have just duplicated locations where I need to provide the same information and communication channels? Or is it possible, for example, to have three independent locations and in case of failure, one of any of those control rooms, the other two could take over with the additional load of the failed one?
Well, Sasha, both scenarios are valid. Geo-redundancy allows us to have an additional site for failover. However, distributed regional control centers might take over additional workload from ours.
Very good. Security is always an important topic these days. When everything runs on IP technology, we know about the vulnerability. Threats from outside or sometimes compliances from the customer that makes it necessary to strictly separate communication networks. How can we achieve a safe environment?
Good question, Sasha. A session border controller, or SBC, in this case does the job. You can think of it as a firewall for voice over IP. It is the entry point from the wide area network and provides important features. For example, it enforces encryption and takes care of quality of service while hiding your internal network topology.
Oh, we've been talking about all the different aspects of a control center. Putting it all together, how does a service-based architecture for a communication system should look like? I ask because of control rooms have a lot in common, but the requirements differ. And don't forget that the customer's budget is not unlimited. A modular system, which is extendable or scalable step by step, would be a great benefit.
Summing all up, the control center integrates different sources like radio networks or next generation networks like 5G or 4G, telephony, video surveillance, through gateways or a session border controller as a secure entry point for communication system. The recording system and case management ensure compliance with laws and regulations and supports the user if a call is not audible. The dispatcher client is the operator's lifeline to the outside world, and additional services like analytics or geographical information system provide valuable information for decision making. Our communication platform connects, provides all necessary functions, and helps customers around the world build better control centers.
You are right. Voxtronic Connects is a flexible multimedia platform consisting of the communication server, a recording solution, a session border controller, and gateways for integration of legacy devices. A central management allows easy configuration of system components. It is the ideal choice of every control room, even in complex scenarios. Hello again. I hope you liked our webinar. It is a great pleasure to tell you the dispatcher we showed you will be fully integrated in the Atlas system from Inter. You can explore the newest and upcoming versions in the Experience Center from Inter. If you have any questions about our products and solutions, you can either contact your sales manager from Inter or me. On the Voxtronic web pages, you can also find brochures, but it is much easier to send me an email. I will provide you with the needed links and documents. Thank you for watching this webinar. Have a great time with the next events and goodbye.